Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. I'm just on Sky News Australia. Benjamin Netanyahu addresses United Nations General Assembly. It's quite a long speech, so I don't think we'll get through it all. Um, but I'll play a bit of it and we'll have a listen to Benjamin Netanyahu. I have listened to this before. I've listened to the majority of it. Again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again for the cheap seats. For everybody who's fucked off here, many people in the room, as you can see, all the empty seats, refused to listen to Benjamin Netanyahu's speech. It was a form of protest about what's going on in Gaza, I would imagine, and they've all left the room and refused to hear Benjamin Netanyahu speak as a form of protest. But that's kind of the mentality here as well. Again, when I seen them all getting up and walking out, I just thought, like you're all children or something. You know what I mean? Like this is the world we live in, where it's supposed to be a democracy and all this kind of crack, and you've accusing this man of genocide and you've accused him of all sorts. But then surely you should let the man speak and um, uh, again, just you should let the man speak. You should hear what he has to say, really. For me, anyway, whether you like him or dislike him or whatever, the point is, it's United Nations. That's what's happening. He's who's speaking. Everybody else gets the chance. Everybody should get everybody else the same respects in the same respects. If the head of Iran speaks, the people of the delegates of Israel should listen. That kind of thing, you know what I mean? This all walking out and everything. It doesn't really achieve a great deal, to be honest. So yeah, that's what's happened. A lot of people have walked out. Like as you can see, a lot of people walked out. And didn't listen to the speech. But in fairness, again, I'll say it again. I stand with Israel. I ultimately stand with Israel. October the 7th. Mentioned it many a time. Again, I think he mentions this people have forgot about October the 7th, and again, I haven't. I really haven't. I remember it very well, and again, it was a horrific attack, absolutely horrific attack, and I think personally, Israel are well within the rights to defend themselves or retaliate after such a brutal attack, and that's what you've witnessed. And the ultimate bottom line is don't attack people who are cleverer than you, better armed than you. It's just the madness. This is what's happened because you attacked them. There you go. There. Learn your lesson. You know what I mean? And as he says in this, peace could happen right now. Return the hostages, and we could have peace tomorrow. But Hamas still has 40 odd hostages, I think he says. So there'll be no peace till the hostages are returned. Fair play, yet again. So again, you can have all these Palestine protests and bang your pots and pans and shout your bullshit, but ultimately Israel isn't listening, and all those people who stand with Israel just aren't listening because yeah, there's hostages. You attacked them. There's hostages. Return the hostages, and you might have a form of peace. But ultimately, you're the attackers. You instigated this. You attacked them. You took the hostages. You've still got the hostages. So you haven't got a leg to stand on. You literally haven't got an argument. You haven't got a leg to stand on in this argument. It's all bullshit. And anybody who knows what's going on and pays attention knows that you're just all full of shit. You're all idiots, to be honest. All the left wing, all idiots. Um, yeah, and then again, it's like the left wing and the Muslims together in this combined effort to fucking brainwash us with bullshit about fucking Israel and Gaza and all this fucking goop. Well, October the 7th, boys and girls, October the 7th happened again. We all remember it. Well, let's let Benjamin take the stage. I've waffled for 4 minutes here. Let's go.
President, the families of our dear hostages languishing in the dungeons of Gaza. Ladies and gentlemen, last year I stood at this podium and I showed this map. This map. It shows the curse.
I'm not sure what that was. It happens again a little bit later. I'm not sure if it's people heckling him or trying to shout him down or something. I'm not sure, to be honest. But it happens again later. But again, it could be that due to who it is and what's going on. A lot of people left the room. So yeah, it happens again, but it's just people heckling him. I'm not sure. So he does this a lot bit, and he has some questions and some boards. It's quite an impressive speech, to be honest.
of Iran's terror axis. This axis threatened the peace of the entire world. It threatened the stability of our region and the very existence of my country, Israel. Iran was rapidly developing a massive nuclear weapons program and a massive ballistic missile program. These were meant not only to destroy Israel, they were meant also to threaten the United States and blackmail nations everywhere. From Gaza, Yahya Sinwar dispatched waves of Hamas terrorists. They stormed into Israel on October 7th and committed acts of unspeakable savagery. From Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah had launched thousands of missiles and rockets at our cities, terrorizing our citizens. In Syria, the murderous dictator Assad hosted Iran's forces, tightening a noose of death around our throats. In Yemen, the Houthis launched ballistic missiles at Israel while choking global trade at the mouth of the Red Sea. So what's happened over the past year? We've hammered the Houthis, including yesterday. We crushed the bulk of Hamas's terror machine. We crippled Hezbollah, taking out most of its leaders and much of its weapons arsenal. You remember those beepers, the pagers? We paged Hezbollah. And believe me, they got the message. And thousands of terrorists,
They got the message. Rubs it in slightly. It was a good speech. It was a good speech. Again, I stand with Israel, and he says at one point, oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Absolutely just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, he says at one point, like we're doing your job, keeping like these people down and terror down, and in fairness, he's right later on the speech, absolutely right, and well done, and thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu.
dropped to the ground. We destroyed Assad's armaments in Syria. We deterred Iran's Shiite militias in Iraq. And most importantly, and above anything else that I could say to you or that we did in this past year, in this past decade, we devastated Iran's atomic weapons and ballistic missiles programs. So here's where things stand today. Half the Houthi leadership in Yemen, gone. Yahya Sinwar in Gaza, gone. Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon, gone. The Assad regime in Syria, gone. Those militias in Iraq, well, they're still deterred. And their leaders, if they attack Israel, will also be gone. And for Iran's top military commanders and his top atomic bomb scientists, well, they're gone too.
Because we, Israel, don't fuck about. You know what I mean? Don't fuck about here. That's the bottom line. World War II happened. They were done over. Never again was the word. And Israel don't fuck about, and that's the proof of it. To be honest, that is the ultimate proof that Israel do not fuck about here. But ultimately, they've helped us. Again, these people will, once Israel has been vanquished, they'll just move on to the fucking rest of us, and they've already spreading. So again, God knows how many of these men on the boats, the Muslim army. You know what I mean? We don't know. We don't know. It's been said, but we don't know. But it could be. Could be waiting for a call. We just don't know. We hope not. But again, we don't know. So yeah, Israel again. Israel's our team, and anybody who doesn't see that, you're quite frankly an idiot. Israel is our team. Because when it comes to jihad, as he mentions here, they won't give a fuck about debating here. There'll be no debate.
Israel's 12-day war with Iran, which I renamed Operation Rising Lion, that's from the Bible. This 12-day war.
Well, sir, we've got a rising lion here in the UK. Let's have a look at it. There is the lion rising as well. 1.339 million signatures as the lion rises. Let's continue.
Will go down in the annals of military history. Our daring pilots neutralized Iran's missile defenses and took control of the skies over Tehran. And you saw this. Israeli fighter pilots and American B-2 pilots bombed Iran's nuclear enrichment sites. I want to thank President Trump for his bold and decisive action. President Trump and I promised to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, and we delivered on that promise. We removed an existential threat to Israel, and a mortal threat to the civilized world. We lifted a dark cloud that could have claimed millions and millions of lives. But, ladies and gentlemen, we must remain vigilant. We must remain absolutely clear-minded and vigilant. We must not allow Iran to rebuild its military nuclear capacities. Iran's stockpiles of enriched uranium, these stockpiles must be eliminated. And tomorrow, UN Security Council sanctions on Iran must be snapped back. Thanks to the resolve of our people, the courage of our soldiers, and the bold decisions we took, Israel rebounded from its darkest day to deliver one of the most stunning military comebacks in history. But we're not done yet. The final elements, the final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job. That is why we want to do so as fast as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, much of the world no longer remembers October 7th, but we remember. Israel remembers October 7th. On that day, well, I'll tell you, you can remember October.
I remember it very well. Again, it was the day after my dad's funeral, so I was really hungover, like really hungover. And again, I remember it quite well. It was the day after my dad's funeral, but I remember it as well for it being. I'd just buried a man who'd lived a long and fruitful life. Many would say he was 80 years old, or 80 odd year old. He had a good life, so it was it was a bit of a contrast. Here we have kids and women and young people and all sorts of ages being slaughtered and kidnapped and took hostage, and yeah, like unbelievable acts committed, people taken from the earth well before their time in many respects. After I'd buried a man who had lived a long and fruitful life, so it was the kind of contrast and the horror of what had happened to some of these people as well, I suppose. And Yeah, again, I don't forget that. I mean, I don't forget all these other ones either, like Lee Rigby and the London Bridge and the London bombings and Southport, and I don't forget any of them, to be honest. Again, they're always big news. Southport was horrific, you know what I mean? Although we've got that video of the guy getting arrested, and I put the video forth, the Rudy Bakwana mystery that was on Craig Houston's channel. And I actually seen that same video posted by mainstream media, that exact video claiming it was Rudy Bakwana being arrested. And it was on mainstream media, the exact video. Again, the guy's got no blood anywhere at all on him, if you go back and watch the video. So it's very suspicious for a man who's supposed to have committed such a heinous crime and stabbed children, one of which 120 times, another of which 80 times, and multiple other children, and the teacher, and all sorts, and there's not a drop of blood on the guy. So it's very suspicious, that, to be honest. But I don't want to claim anything because it's an horrific event. And apparently children died and families are suffering, and there's been an inquest in Liverpool, apparently. Um, so it's just very strange, absolutely very strange. What the hell is that video? Why is there no blood at all on that man being arrested, who apparently has stabbed so many people? There's no way you can stab that many people and not be covered in blood. No way. So very strange indeed. Anyhow, that's a different topic and a different video. If you go back and watch the video, I'm not quite sure how many back it is. Rudy Bakwana mystery, or it's on Craig Houston's channel. We're very, very mysterious and suspicious. And the world we live in, we do get lied to a lot, a lot. But in order to pull off such a lie, you've got a lot of people involved there, a lot of people, and um, again, it was an horrific event that affected the country. Again, there was riots, there was all sorts. It was enough is enough was born out of that event. Um, so it seems very, very far-fetched to be a staged event with so many people having to be involved. But again, and it's not just them people. Apparently, these people were stabbed. So what about the ambulances, the police? You know what I mean? There's too many people, surely, to fake an event of such magnitude. Absolutely, surely. But then here we have a video of Axel Rudy Bakwana with no blood whatsoever on him being arrested in the exact clothes he was apparently wearing on the day. So it's very, very strange indeed. And again, Craig Houston, who made the initial video, he didn't know where to go with it, and I don't myself. As I say, I can't wrap my head around how this could all be staged. But here we have the fellow with no blood at all on him, apparently being arrested, body cam footage of the police. So unless it's a mock-up, but everybody's mainstream media is claiming it is Rudy Bakwan's arrest. So again, I can't grasp. Completely different subject. Anyhow, I've wandered off. Let's get back to Netanyahu. I forgot what he just said now, to be honest. I do this tangent wander, and I've completely forgot what was going on. But whatever he was saying, he was probably right.
October 7th, too.
Oh yeah, October the 7th. Yeah, we completely remember October the 7th.
You see this large pin here?
I can't get it to work, this. Apparently you can get a video of October the 7th. It would probably be quite horrific, I would imagine. I don't know. I couldn't get it to work, to be honest. I couldn't get my phone to zoom in on that. It was too blurry.
It's a QR code. What I ask you to do is hold up your phones, zoom in, and you too will see why we fight and why we must win. It's all in here. On October 7th, Hamas carried out the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. They slaughtered 1,200 innocent people, including over 40 Americans and foreign nationals from dozens of countries represented here. They beheaded men. They raped women. They burnt babies alive. They burnt babies alive in front of their parents. What monsters. And these monsters took more than 250 people hostage. And those included Holocaust survivors, grandmothers and their grandchildren. Who takes hostage grandmothers and grandchildren? Hamas does. So far, we've brought home 207 of these hostages, but 48 still remain in the dungeons of Gaza. 20 of them are alive, starved, tortured, deprived of any daylight, deprived of humanity. These are the names of the 20 living hostages. Matan Angrest, Gali and Zerv Berman, brothers, Elkanah Buchbot, Rom Braslavsky, Nimrod Cohen, Ariel and David Cunyo, another pair of brothers, Guy Gilboa Dalal, Eviatar David. You saw the picture.
Look, again, sorry to interrupt the names as well. Somebody shouted again there. Again, I don't know if it was heckling him, but very disrespectful, to be honest. Again, shouting of names of people who've been taken hostage. 28 of which are dead. I think 20 are alive. He said there. Very respectful saying the names as well. I didn't want to interrupt, but somebody heckled. But I just thought as well, as that heckler heckled, like that we're about a week and a half to 2 weeks, and it's 2 years. 2 years these people have been held hostage in brutal conditions, and as Donald Trump said in his interview with Keir Starmer. He asked if there was any warmth shown in any way at all in the time they were taken hostage, and the answer was no every time. So 2 years these people have been suffering, 2 years. And again, all the left wing and the really Palestine protesters, they can all get fucked, you know what I mean? They can all absolutely get fucked with the protests and the banging the pots and all that bullshit, because it's all fucking bullshit. And again, if you know what's going on as well, you know that's all bullshit. Again, October the 7th, and what happened on October the 7th. What happened afterwards is retaliation for a brutal attack. Again, they've still got hostages. So you haven't got a leg to stand on. You really haven't got an argument. All these left-wingers and all these Palestine bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Of Eviatar David, emaciated, forced to dig his own grave. Maxim Herkin, Eitan Horn, Segev Kalfon, Bar Kupperstein, Omri Meran, Eitan Moore, Yosef Chaim Ochana, Alon Ohel, Avinatam Or, and Matan Tsengarker. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to do something I've never done before. I want to speak from this forum directly to those hostages through loudspeakers. I've surrounded Gaza with massive loudspeakers connected to this microphone in the hope that our dear hostages will hear my message. And I'll say it first in Hebrew and then in English. אחינו הגיבורים, מדבר ראש הממשלה בנימין נתניהו. אני פונה עליכם מעל בימת האו"ם. לא שכחנו אתכם, אפילו לא לשנייה. העם כולו איתכם, ואנחנו לא נשקוט ולא נרפה עד שנחזיר את כולכם הביתה, החיים והחללים כאחד. Our brave heroes. This is Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking to you live from the United Nations. We have not forgotten you, not even for a second. The people of Israel are with you. We will not falter and we will not rest until we bring all of you home. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to special efforts by Israeli intelligence, my words are now also being carried. They're streamed live to the cell phones of Gazans. So to the remaining Hamas leaders and to the jailers of our hostages, I now say, lay down your arms. Let my people go. Free the hostages. All of them, the whole 48. Free the hostages now. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel will hunt you down. Ladies and gentlemen, if Hamas agrees to our demands, the war could end right now. Gaza would be demilitarized, Israel would retain overriding security control, and a peaceful civilian authority would be established by Gazans and others committed to peace with Israel. And of course, you understand that the war in Gaza has affected every Israeli. But I'm sure there are people in New York or in London or in Melbourne and elsewhere who are probably thinking, what does all of this have to do with me? And the answer is everything. Because our enemies are your enemies. So let's do something else, so first at the UN. Let's do a pop quiz. And raise your hand if you know the answer. Here's the first question. Who shouts, "Death to America"? Is it A, Iran, B, Hamas, C, Hezbollah, D, the Houthis, or E, all of the above?
E.
All of the above. Correct, all of the above. Second question. Who has murdered Americans and Europeans in cold blood? Is it A, Al-Qaeda, B, Hamas, C, Hezbollah, D, Iran, or E, all of the above?
E.
Correct. Again. So here's the point I wanted to make. Our enemies hate all of us with equal venom. They want to drag the modern world back to the past, to a dark age of violence, fanaticism, and terror. I think many of you are already feeling in your own societies the radical Islamist surge. You know, I'm sure you do, you know deep down that Israel is fighting your fight.
I don't even know deep down. I know it. So well done and thank you, sir.
So I want to tell you a secret. Behind closed doors, many of the leaders who publicly condemn us privately thank us. They tell me how much they value Israel's superb intelligence services that have prevented time and again terrorist attacks in their capitals, time and again saving countless lives. General George Keegan, former head of U.S. Air Force intelligence, once said, "If the United States had to gather on its own the intelligence that Israel gives us, we would have to establish 5 CIAs. 5 CIAs. This past June, when Israel struck Iran's nuclear facilities, German Chancellor Merz admitted the truth. He said, Israel is doing the dirty work for all of us. President Trump understands better than any other leader that Israel and America face a common threat. He showed the world that when Iran and its proxies murder Americans, take Americans hostage, shout death to America, burn American flags, and try to assassinate the President of the United States, not once, but twice. He showed them there is a price to pay for all that. But regrettably, many leaders who are represented in this hall, they send a very different message. Sure, in the days immediately following October 7th, many of them supported Israel. But that support quickly evaporated when Israel did what any self-respecting nation would do in the wake of such a savage attack.
Yeah, retaliate, and attempt to get your people back as well. So I can't say it enough. I stand with Israel. And as he goes on to say here about Keir Starmer and Britain and people recognising Palestine, I personally, and the majority of the British people, a good section of us, probably at least 1.3 million at this point, we do not recognise the state of Palestine. We do not recognise the British government. We do not recognise Labour. We do not recognise Keir Starmer. And we do not recognise any of the decisions made by Labour or Keir Starmer since he came into office, especially if he introduces a digital ID card. But the Online Safety Act needs to go. We need to roll back immigration. We need to get people out of the country. There's too many foreigners now. We need rid of them. Even where I am, we're absolutely swamped with foreigners. We need rid of people. We need rid of people. We need rid of this government. We do not recognise it. We do not recognise Keir Starmer any longer, and he can piss off with all his decisions. And again, the majority of the British people do not recognise Palestine. Plus, there is no place called Palestine, so it's all a bit of a load of bullshit in the first place. There is no Palestine. There's no borders. There's no nothing. They have a terrorist government, so it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, really. But yeah, we do not recognise that our terrorist government, the Labour government, and Keir Starmer, who is a traitor, we do not recognise them. So that whole Palestine affair and recognising it doesn't really count, doesn't stand for the British people. Again, it's supposed to be a democracy. So I can say that most of the people do not agree with that decision. They do not agree with the Online Safety Act. They do not agree with the digital ID, currently 1.36 million and rising. So I'll just let him say himself, well, then we'll end it there, really.
We fought back. Now just imagine, just sit back for a second and imagine an attack against America proportioned to the attack against Israel on October 7th. Imagine a regime, a terror regime, dispatching thousands of terrorists to invade the United States. They massacre 40,000 Americans. They take 10,000 Americans hostage. What do you think America would do? You think America would leave that regime standing? You don't think that. No way, not a chance. The United States would wipe out that terror regime and ensure that such savagery would never threaten America again. This is precisely what Israel is doing in Gaza. We're wiping out the terror regime of Hamas and ensuring that this savagery will never threaten Israel again. That's what we are doing. That's what any self-respecting government would do. Yet, and it's a yet that I'm sorry to say here, yet over time, many world leaders buckled. They buckled under the pressure of a biased media, radical Islamist constituencies, and anti-Semitic mobs. There's a familiar saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah, and we do not recognise any of these people. The British people, we're always in a battle against all of these people. Everybody's seen it, all the protests, all the migrant protests, all the protests, anti-racist, anti-fascist, all shouting at us, the British people. Again, all the sayings that none of them know what fascist means when asked to define it. They're wrong on every call of racism. And we are the people whose ancestors defeated the Nazis, so they're all fucking idiots, they're all full of shit. And again, the British people in general, which is the majority, do not recognise these people either, as well as Keir Starmer and the Labour government.
Well, for many countries here, when the going got tough, you caved. And here's the shameful result of that collapse. For much of the past 2 years, Israel has had to fight a seven-front war against barbarism, with many of your nations opposing us.
Not just that, mate. We get called all sorts, and again, they're trying to bring in an Islamophobia law, so we're not allowed to say boo to a goose. So again, it's because our corrupt Labour government, again, the the people who control it, the Fabian Society, and all these people. Well, Britain's waking up eventually, finally, after God knows our entire lifetimes, to be honest. Britain might be waking up, but yeah, we don't stand with these people. We don't stand with Starmer. We don't stand with Labour.
Astoundingly, as we fight the terrorists who murdered many of your citizens, you are fighting us. You condemn us, you embargo us, and you wage political and legal warfare, it's called lawfare, against us. I say to the representatives of those nations, this is not an indictment of Israel. It's an indictment of you. It's an indictment of weak-kneed leaders who
Agreed, absolutely agreed. Corrupt leaders as well, like here, Starmer.
appease evil rather than support a nation whose brave soldiers guard you from the barbarians at the gate. They're already penetrating your gates.
Well, I mean,
When will you learn? You can't appease your way out of jihad, and you won't escape the Islamist storm by sacrificing Israel.
yeah, exactly. No, again, the majority of the British people, again, there was Israel flag flying on this September the 13th. And again, I can only speak for myself, but I stand with Israel yet again. Thank you, Mr. Netanyahu, for keeping the wolf from the door.
To overcome that storm, you have to stand with Israel. But that's not what you're doing. As
I am.
the prophets of Israel foretold in the Bible, you've turned good into evil and evil into good. Now I want to drill down on this. Take the false charge of genocide. Israel is accused of deliberately targeting civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposite is true. The head of urban warfare studies, Colonel John Spencer, he's perhaps the world's greatest expert on urban warfare. And he says, Israel is applying more measures to minimize civilian casualties than any military in history. And because we're doing that,
Yeah, everything we're hearing is left wing and Muslim Hamas propaganda. It's all bullshit.
the ratio of non-combatant to combatant casualties is less than 2 to 1 in Gaza. That's an astoundingly low ratio, lower than NATO's wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, especially when you consider that Gaza is one of the most densely populated urban areas on Earth. It has hundreds of miles of terror tunnels underground, and it has countless terror towers above ground, and thousands of terrorists embedded in the tunnels and in these towers in civilian areas. If you want to see what measures Israel takes to avoid civilian casualties in this war, just look at what we're doing now in Gaza City, the last Hamas stronghold, one of the two last strongholds. For 3 weeks, Israel dropped millions of leaflets, sent millions of text messages, and made countless phone calls urging civilians to leave Gaza City before our military moves in. At the same time, Hamas implants itself in mosques, schools, hospitals, apartment buildings, and tries to force those civilians not to leave, to stay in harm's way. And it often threatens them at gunpoint if they try to do so. For Israel, every civilian casualty is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. Hamas uses civilians as human shields and as props in its sick propaganda war in Israel against Israel.
Yeah, and the left wing are completely the same. They use dead people as ammunition, but again, none of the background is ever discussed. Or it's just Israel's killing people, killing children, starving children. No proof is ever given. No proof is ever given whatsoever. And half of the photos they've got of young children starving are from completely different conflicts. Yeah, it's all just bullshit. All absolute bullshit. Left wing bullshit. Again, most people know this at this point. But it's not backed up by anything. And it's like, again, I kind of, it's like everybody that left, it's all kind of left wing mentality. Won't listen to the debate, just left the room, won't even listen to what's being said, just ignore it and continue on with your own bullshit narrative that isn't necessarily true. Yeah, and that's the other side of it. Like, again, I don't for a minute believe before he even spoke that Israel's just indiscriminately killing people. That's not what's happening and never has been. That's what Hamas did. You know, yeah, that's exactly what Hamas did. So it's one of them as well. It's the pot calling the kettle black, really. You know what I mean? They're always, oh, the genocide, the genocide. That's exactly what Hamas and the Muslims did. Genocide. So you can fuck off. You know what I mean? You can fuck off with your argument. It's a load of bullshit. And again, most people, you can scream racist and fascist and Nazi all you want. No one gives a fuck. You don't even know what half of them words mean. That's the beauty of it. You don't know what half of them words mean. You've just been told to shout them. You've got no backing to your argument. And you all stink and have coloured hair.
Israel, a propaganda war that the Western media buys hook, line, and sinker. Now, despite Hamas's threats, close to 700,000.
I wouldn't say the Western media buy the propaganda war. I'd say they're implicit in the propaganda war. Again, it's all left-wing media. We all know this. Everybody knows it. And I wouldn't even say it's left-wing media, but it is. But at the same time, it's just corporate global agenda media. It's not even left-wing. It just appears that way because the global agenda is kind of going left-wing way in a way. So yeah, they don't buy it. They're peddling it. They're peddling it, mate.
Gazans, almost 750,000, have already heeded our calls and moved to safe zones. Now I want to ask you a simple question, a simple, logical question. Would a country committing genocide plead with the civilian population it is supposedly targeting to get out of harm's way? Would we tell them?
Yeah, would they tell me? I mean, the left have no logic, so he's talking to a brick wall, to be honest.
Get out if we want to commit genocide? We're trying to get them out. And Hamas is trying to keep them in. And this charge is so baseless. The comparison to genocide, wholesale slaughter of populations. What, did the Nazis ask the Jews to leave, kindly leave, go out? Did others, you want me to name all the genocidal leaders of history? Just go one by one. Did anyone do this? Did they say, get out so we can come in? Of course not. So the truth has been turned on its head. Hamas, a genocidal terrorist organization whose charter calls for the murder of all Jews on the planet. This genocidal organization.
Yeah, and then they'll come for us after they finish with the Jews. Again, it's again a propaganda war, as he said there, and the left wing are peddling it. But anybody with any brains knows the crack. Again, October the 7th, that was a genocide. Well, it wasn't it was an attempted genocide in a way. Like they tried to genocide everybody in the vicinity. Had they been able to get to the rest of Israel and perform genocide, I'm sure they would have, but they didn't have the capabilities. You know what I mean? They attacked people at a festival with no weapons, and they didn't go for the army or anything. When the army comes swooping in, they're all probably fucked off.
Is given a pass. It's barely mentioned. While Israel, which does everything it can to get civilians out of harm's way, Israel is put in the dock. What a joke. You want to hear another one? Israel is accused of deliberately starving the people of Gaza when Israel is deliberately feeding the people of Gaza. Since the beginning of the war, Israel has led into Gaza more than 2 million tons of food and aid. That's 1 ton of aid for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. Nearly 3,000 calories per person per day. Some starvation policy. If there are Gazans who don't have enough food, it's because Hamas is stealing it. Hamas steals it, hoards it, and sells it at exorbitant prices to fight its war machine. Last month, even the UN, not exactly a supporter of Israel. You're supposed to laugh, by the way. Last month, even the UN admitted that Hamas and other armed groups looted 85% of the trucks. That's why you have deprivation. Those who peddled the blood libels of genocide and starvation against Israel are no better than those who peddled blood libels against the Jews in the Middle Ages when they falsely accused us of poisoning wells, spreading plague, and using the blood of children to bake Passover matzahs. Anti-Semitism dies hard. In fact, it doesn't die at all. It just keeps coming back with its libelous lies.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. We just go around in a circle here in history. He's right, and in my opinion, you're well within the rights to defend yourself. October the 7th. So again, I've no beef with Israel. Me, no beef at all. I have more beef with the Muslims and Hamas. You know what I mean? Again, I can't remember any Jews stabbing us beheading us in the street, or stabbing children, or on a bridge, or London bombings, or la 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 la. I can't remember one Jew attacking us. Not one.
Refurbished, regurgitated over and over again. And I want to tell you something else. These anti-Semitic lies, they have consequences. In recent months, Jews have been assaulted in Canada, Australia, Britain, France, the Netherlands, and elsewhere. Here in America, an elderly Holocaust survivor was burned to death in Colorado. And a beautiful young couple from the Israeli embassy in Washington was brutally gunned down right in front of the Holocaust Museum there. Thankfully, President Trump's administration is forcefully fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism, and every government here should follow its lead. But instead, many do the opposite. They actually reward the worst anti-Semites on earth. This week, the leaders of France, Britain, Australia, Canada, and other countries unconditionally recognized a Palestinian state.
We do not, the British people do not recognise the Palestinian state. Again, it's supposed to be a democracy. None of us agree with that. We don't follow this government. We don't. Yeah, don't worry. We'll get that roll back, mate. We'll get that roll back. We'll get this roll back. 1.378 million now. Yeah, no, well, when we get rid of this Labour government, pal, and all these lefties and all this bullshit, we'll roll that back for you, pal. We'll absolutely roll that back. I speak for the British people. I speak for the majority of the British people, anyway, the majority. We'll roll that back. Don't worry about it. So I'll leave it there. With this fucking been a real long video, to be honest, a real long video. But we got through 25 minutes of the speech. There is a bit more if you want to listen to it. I just thought we got to that bit where he mentions us recognising Palestine. I'll just play what he's going to say about us recognising it.
They did so after the horrors committed by Hamas on October 7th. Horrors praised on that day by nearly 90% of the Palestinian population. Now, let me say that again. Nearly 90% of Palestinians supported the attack on October 7th.
Yeah, well, 100% of Israelis think the aftermath's justified, and a lot of the world do as well, because it is, yeah, that was a horrific attack. And again, it's not all the bullshit you've been peddled that Israel's just absolutely indiscriminately killing people left, right, and centre. That's not the way of it. That's left-wing and Muslim propaganda, to be honest. That's what it is. And again, there is casualties in war. He admits that. That's war, unfortunately. But you shouldn't have attacked them on October the 7th, should you? And then none of this would have happened in the first place. So you can only blame yourself. Said it many a time. I stand with Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, to be honest, in the whole affair. Well above the Palestinians and the Hamas regime. You have to stand with Israel on a moral ground, to be honest, absolute moral ground. That they attacked them brutally. Took loads of hostages. They've still got the hostages, as he said there. There could be peace tomorrow, release the hostages, but nope, they've still got the hostages nearly 2 years on. So that speaks for itself, absolutely speaks for itself. So There you go. You made your own bed, to be honest. And anybody who's got any eyes and a brain can see the truth. There you go. I'll leave it there. Peace.